Hello and welcome to Stephen University. This week we'll of course be discussing... sorry, I keep doing that because I'm so used to doing it weekly. Today, as in Tuesday, we'll be discussing What's Your Problem? The episode Chris correctly predicted last week would be an Amethyst episode.
Yeah, I think I'd said Ruby and then Amethyst after.
Oh right.
So
I thought you said Ruby, then thought it through, and actually no, Amethyst probably next.
If I did, that's accidental. I think if you'd have made me bet at the end, I'd have assumed Ruby. But gotcha. I was thrilled to get some Amethyst.
Yeah, I think it's really cool because we got Sapphire last week. It's like we're going one by one through the gems and getting their sort of opinion on getting their perspective on the whole reveal, sort of one by one, and it's sort of, I don't know, it's just working out really well.
I'll be honest with you, Amethyst's reaction would have been the one I was most intrigued by because she obviously, as far as I can tell, wasn't really there. I'm right in saying she wasn't really there for the war, was she?
No, she came out after the war had ended.
She came out after the war, so she hasn't got sort of the weight of. But I thought she's been fighting for Rose in a way, but she not the kind of the war element of it that Ruby, Sapphire, and Pearl have. So I was very intrigued as to whether we were even going to get an Amethyst reaction. So to get one was great. So for those that can't remember, the episode starts with Sapphire, Pearl, and Stephen coming back. And Amethyst is just chilling out, trying to play video games, trying to encourage Stephen to play video games, being a bit nonchalant about the whole thing, to be honest with you. But then Sapphire and Pearl start crying, so Stephen decides to go look for Ruby, and Amethyst decides to join. She looks at kind of Pearl and Sapphire crying and just thinks, nah. So she goes out. They start looking for Ruby underwater throughout the town. And throughout all of it, Amethyst is being quite dismissive and quite distracting. She's being really small, hiding in seashells. She's, transforming into Ruby, trying to make Stephen laugh. And you just kind of feel like she's not really bothered. So Stephen and Amethyst fail to find her. So they end up in the pizza place.
Fish stew pizza.
And that's when Amethyst begins to kind of explode. And Stephen tries to make her open up. She sort of hints that she's fed up of people putting this stuff on Stephen. And, it's not their fault that Rose did this and they have to deal with it. And she seems quite angry at Rose and angry that Stephen has always tried to be his mum and had the pressure of being his mum. And his mum was, as keeping secrets, as it were. So it climaxes with Stephen clinging onto a helicopter-formed Ruby in the sky. They end up crashing, and Amethyst reveals that she's trying to just be a friend for Stephen and trying not to put her feelings about Rose on him. And she just wants to be there for Stephen, and she refuses to kind of bog him down with this stuff. And Stephen says she's probably the most mature gem now. And they sort of have a laugh at how that's odd for Amethyst to be that way. And then they go and find Ruby, and we finish the episode with them closing in on Ruby and Greg sat atop a hill.
Can you hear me at all, Chris?
Oh, you're coming out of my phone, not my headphones.
Yeah, you knocked me on a speaker during that, and you knocked me on a speaker actually just before you started doing that, and I went to say something, but then you started the intro, and I thought, I'll wait till you finish. Yeah, you might have swapped it on WhatsApp, because Bluetooth can still be connected to the phone, but you can switch WhatsApp's output source. You're back on your headset now.
Well, I wasn't. Is it back now?
Yeah.
That's weird, it's weird because I wasn't touching my phone.
I can't explain that then, Chris, but that's what happened, because I heard it happen.
I was talking, my phone and my microphone are nowhere near each other.
Yeah, sorry. I don't have the answer, but that's what happened. It's fine. I could still hear you, but you were clearly suddenly distant, so I knew we'd switched to speaker.
Sorry, anyway. Peeps, for
all good.
Continued technical differences.
Yeah, we've had a weird one these last couple of podcasts, haven't we? In terms of getting our technical stuff, we go in waves. I think it's like if we have a couple of weeks where there's nothing wrong, and then some new problem that interferes with these podcasts rears its head.
Yeah.
Yeah, where to start with this one? There's a lot going with this one, isn't there? I love this episode. I always related to the Amethyst character, I think, the most of all the gems. We've talked about that in the past. I have a lump of amethyst on my desk. I took a Cartoon Network put out an official "Which gem are you?" quiz this week, and it's not one of those really horrible ones where it's like obvious which question leads to what answer. It's just a general question about you. Some of them are a little bit leany, but a lot of them are like really just generic questions. And I think Rebecca Sugar had some input into it or something. I'm not sure exactly how it works, but I got Amethyst, unsurprisingly. And I think that it's really interesting to me to see her progression in this show, and they haven't really made a big fuss about it. But if you look at Amethyst, she's always done the deflection. She's always done be funny, be silly when on the inside you're crying. She's that's not going anywhere. But what's changed, I think, was she would burden others with her issues in the early seasons. When they first went back to the kindergarten, it became a fight between her and Pearl. Because she was so angry and frustrated at her place in the world. You know what I mean? And then it all came back to this Jasper thing, and she was snapping at the other crystal gems because she was getting angry that Jasper kept besting her, and it became an issue about her, like her own self-esteem, because she came out late, wasn't maybe as sizable as the other Amethyst. She came out wrong in her words. I think that's what she says at one point, or Jasper says, came out wrong as the phrasing that's used. And Jasper then represents this entire sort of like self-esteem arc for Amethyst that ends with her finally feeling worthy of being herself and like beating Jasper. And she doesn't beat Jasper single-handedly, but her strength is her friends. So it's kind of beautiful that it works that way. Particularly that it ends with that great sort of fusion with Stephen, who also feels a bit like he can't live up to Rose the same way she feels she's not living up to her status. So they've got a lot in common, those two. And I've always liked them together. And I think what's beautiful about this is Amethyst made me realise that I'd forgotten Stephen's feelings in all this when I was watching this episode. Because, like the show almost, I was going, right, we did Sapphire, let's get Amethyst, and so next week we'll do Ruby. I never stopped to think, like, how does Stephen feel about all of this? I then immediately felt like a bad person, because how many times in the show have I talked about the burden they're putting what is essentially a child under in this show, and how insane it is that Stephen has to deal with all this complicated stuff. And yet he's proven himself worthy of it so often that I've stopped worrying. And that's nuts. And the minute Amethyst was like, no, how do you feel? I was like, oh shit, yeah, how does Stephen feel? And that's how I felt the first time I watched this episode. And it's kind of remarkable for the episode to make me question my own thinking. Because I went, oh shit, yeah, I never thought about that. How is he doing? That's a pretty meaty reveal. He's a diamond. I should probably want to know how he feels about that.
Yeah.
And it's just remarkable that this episode highlights that in such a way. And while doing that, they also prove so brilliantly how Amethyst has matured, in that she's got her issues with this situation too. But Stephen's this great person, and in her own words in this episode, and she literally says, don't you know you're this great person? Which I loved, because to me that's a whole other issue, but like, to me, I think Stephen's becoming more Rose to her than I think she's got more respect and admiration for Stephen than she has for Rose. And I think,
well, certainly now I would have thought
but her feelings about Stephen feel almost like they're starting to echo how Pearl and Garnet felt about Rose.
Yeah,
because she's going through all this with Stephen. Do you know what I mean? They didn't fight in the war, no, so they don't have that bond. But she has this bond with Stephen, that they're both going through all this together.
She has a knowledge of him. She has the depth of fusion as well with him.
Precisely, yeah. And while she knew Rose, she didn't fight alongside Rose the same way that Garnet and Pearl did. I think that quality in Rose that made people want to fight for her and be on her side, and the thing that inspired so many gems to betray Homeworld. I think Steven does have that too, and I think that looking at the way Amethyst sort of reveres him in this episode, like, I mean, just again, it's just that moment of like, don't you know you're this great person? Like, she just has so much love and respect for him, and I think that's incredible. And setting that up is really important and powerful. And as a result, she's matured because she's sort of going like, no, I'm not going to burden you with more of my shit. Like, how are you? And like, and weirdly, seeing how far she's come makes him feel better about everything. And he's like, I'm good. And it's beautiful. It's really well done. It's an incredible episode. So I'm a big fan of this one. I think it's maybe not quite as in depth as last week's, as yesterday. Sorry, as Now We're Only Falling Apart. But dear Lord, this one's just stunning. What a great episode.
Yeah, I mean, it feels less in depth because it's one of those where you don't want to spend 20 minutes on this podcast repeating the jokes, because a lot of it is sort of great humour from Amethyst, like shrinking and bursting out of the seashell, to the kind of the helicopter stuff. You're literally in my head.
Yes, great
all
gag.
Of that stuff.
Yeah.
But what it also has is everything you were just talking about, this depth to it. And again, and I will bang this drum every time it's relevant because it's such an amazing thing. A logical, engaging storyline that makes complete sense that you wouldn't expect. I think you get 100 fans in the room and you go, guess what Amethyst is going to be like in the Amethyst episode after this reveal. And I'd be like, well, I assume she's going to be angry. The person that sort of saved her and told her to be herself wasn't herself, and
which is almost literally what she says in this episode, but the reaction is still different.
Yeah, they still do something different with it, like, and that's incredible. And it's done so well.
Yeah, I agree, and I particularly like this idea as well that, like, because I usually I pick up on this sort of thing. But it only became clear to me, there's a reveal in this episode, which is that Amethyst was trying to make Steven feel better the whole time. But like you, when I first watched it, I was like, God, she is really, like, I don't know what her game is. She's not engaged with any of this, is she? And my first thought as to what the explanation for that was that she was being, like, selfish, and she was just like, you know what, I'm finally fed up of all this now. I'm done caring about any of these.
Yeah, that was my thought as well.
Like, it felt like quite a selfish, like, I'm removing myself from this situation reaction. But in actuality, she was trying to make Steven
video
feel better.
game one. Especially the video game one at the beginning, where it's just like her, playing video games, and it's just like, hey, Steven, come play games. And you're like, well, obviously he doesn't want to play games. Like, what? And, like, it just looks like she's ignoring everything, but really she's trying to get Steven to ignore everything.
Well, either that, or because when she finally gets him to sit down at fish stew, she asks him how he's feeling. So the ploy was either make him feel better with taking him to the fair and doing all the fun stuff, or the ploy was get him one-on-one and make sure he's okay. And either way, brilliant. Because like I said,
real as well that
100%.
That when she then starts talking to him, she can't help but expel about her own anger and her own feelings towards it.
Yeah, 100%. Because that's partly because he's not giving her anything for the first part of it. She's asking me these questions, and he's like, I guess, yeah, it sucks or whatever. Like, he's just being really vague. Excuse my cough. And then that's when she starts to, like, go through her feelings. And it's almost like I think she starts doing it as a way to coax him into getting his feelings out. But as you said, she can't help let her own personal feelings start to slip in more powerfully and, like, more sort of formidably less controlled. And that's when she starts to slip. And I think that's, again, a really great sort of character move. And I'm just really impressed with the way they've handled this. It's a different reaction from Amethyst than I thought. But I mean, do you agree with Steven's assertion she's the most mature crystal gem?
Because
when that was said, I thought that's probably debatable.
Yeah, I think he's talking about this specific. I viewed that as this specific time frame. But I think Pearl's been Pearl's reacted to all of it pretty maturely. I mean, maybe it's, that's why you have her crying uncontrollably as well, to make that point feel more real. Although I think, the crying reaction makes sense, and actually from, Pearl's character point of view, it makes complete sense. She, even though she's free, she always follows someone, and she followed Pink, then she followed Rose, then she followed Garnet, and now, potentially she's got no one to follow, and that makes her break down. But it's also a really clever story point to just get those two out the way and just be able to dedicate the episode to Garnet and to Amethyst and Steven as well.
Yeah, I think that's what's nuts is like, I'm trying to like frame it, is like that they've even managed to like make Pearl go from the calm, collected figure she was at the end of the last episode, and then find a really clever and sensible reason for her to break down. So even though you're right, it does feel out of nowhere a bit because she seemed quite with it last week, it still totally makes sense because you're right. Like Garnet, like this whole idea of what we're gonna do without Garnet. Like, what if Ruby doesn't come back? Like, what if their relationship is over, and we've lost Garnet? Like, it makes perfect
but
sense.
I'm so glad that, like, how cool is it that the Amethyst and Steven storyline is she's going to stick with Steven no matter what? Because when you have Amethyst kind of give her big I'm super duper speech, whatever she says, you're almost for a second like, is she leaving? And I just love that they didn't go down that route. Like, they didn't they didn't try and do, because clearly, and I imagine maybe it was even trailered like this, was this trailered as kind of like, the crystal gems are breaking apart, like, without Garnet, can they carry on? Sort of thing.
You once again 100% nailed the ad campaign.
Yeah,
you do that a lot. There's been a couple of times you've watched an episode and been like, "Oh, I bet they trailed it like this," and you've been 100%.
I mean, I do work in marketing, so maybe that's that.
Sometimes I forget that, Chris. That's true.
So I'm glad they didn't. I'm glad they didn't go down that route. I'm glad they didn't go down they're all falling apart route. I think it's much more clever and much more succinct, because fundamentally, it's 5-6 episodes. It may be that's only an hour to tell quite a lot of story. So focusing on is Garnet going to fall apart? And is that the end of the crystal gems? And having like Steven and Amethyst be a tight unit is
make it about, will a certain linchpin go and therefore lead to it all falling apart, rather than having it all fall apart simultaneously. Is definitely a better approach, I think.
Yeah,
to the story.
I think so.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Obviously, lots of little Townie stuff in this episode. They use Ronaldo's telescope in their search for Ruby. They visit Fish Stew Pizza. Turns out Jenny's getting some new boots. It's very exciting.
You know what I would say though on that?
Are you gonna have some sort of comment on the gross pizza? Because I have many things to say about the gross pizza.
No, it did look awful though. Although I've had pizzas that look similar, but without the fish. Though we've all put too much topping, and I remember you getting really in depth on it once. You being like, yeah, but the problem with you putting too much topping on, mate, is you get less topping, because you get, like, instead of 9 bits of pepperoni, in order to give you pepperoni and 3 other things, you only get like 3 bits of pepperoni. I remember us having that pizza topping discussion once.
Yeah, because a pizza can only hold so much topping.
Yeah. That was but hey, I tried it anyway. I
remember.
And yeah, a pizza can only hold so much topping. But my slight complaint with that, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't believe I saw this, but it was a very quick montage. You've just set up a new donut shop owner. Let's have him go in. I don't think that final scene should be in the donut shop, because I think the pizza delivery leading them to Ruby is really clever and makes more sense. But I just wouldn't have minded getting an opportunity to see the mayor running the donut shop.
We did get a glimpse.
Did we get a glimpse? What was the glimpse?
So the glimpse is when they're using the telescope, he trains the eye of the telescope on the big donut, and Mayor Dewey is outside sweeping. Sorry, Dewey is outside sweeping.
Okay, right, okay. I must have just...
It would have been nice to get an actual scene there, though, at the donut. Like him...
Yeah, that's not as quick as
maybe him showing
the
Dewey the poster and going and pointing at it and Dewey shaking his head. Like, that would have been better.
Yeah, like, I think because we had that scene with the potato top bits in a recent episode, I'd have preferred it if they the poster being put up while Garnet's eating, but Stephen has no interest in eating. I'd have preferred it if that bit was done in the donut shop, I think.
You said Garnet, then I assume you mean Amethyst.
Sorry, Amethyst. That's a really minor complaint, though.
Yeah, I agree, though. Like, we hot for tots, despite being, expertly named, Chris. Just a work of genius on all levels. Can't express enough how good that name is, and if my co-host was in any way dismissive or disparaging about that name, I think I'd be very upset.
I think the hate I have for cat fingers is met only by the love you have for the gag hot to tot.
I mean, you just said it. You uttered the words,
I know. I felt bad about that, actually. As soon as I said it, I was like, oh, that's a mistake.
I know, you've brought it. It's become full circle. You've now said it. Like, that breaks the spell,
No, I don't know. Fuck that. I don't want to acknowledge it again. I don't.
Well, I can't wait till we start doing the rewatch of, the key episodes, and we have to rewatch Cat Fingers.
Dropping that bit where I get really angry at that episode implies that it's a bit, and implies that it's not genuine anger at those 11 minutes of television, which it is.
We'll see. We'll see on the rewatch.
Yeah, I don't know. How quickly do you think we're going to get to rewatch? Or do you think we're going to do topics first? I don't know. We'll work that out.
Over the Garden
I mean,
Wall
the peeps are really...
Stephen University are probably my initial focus.
Yeah, exactly.
But, hiatus is probably going to go on for a while, so...
Yeah, that's true.
Plenty of content for us to get onto.
Let's be honest. Once we got to a single pale rose, I mean, I assume maybe the last episode. Well, tell me what the last episode of this bomb is called. Tell me what the double's called.
Reunited.
Okay, well that sounds good, because that could mean a lot of things.
Yes, it could.
So I reckon single pale rose has hit, and now the audience of Stephen University have gone, I can't wait for Reunited, but also I can't wait for Honey, We Shrunk the Stephen University.
I reckon I saw some comments about that today. I honestly, yes.
What did they say?
They were just like, "Oh, one more episode closer to Honey, I Shrunk Stephen University" or something like that. I can't remember. I think it's probably just the same person repeatedly posting that, but.
Hey, that's fine, mate. I'm not worried about this only appealing to me and one other person. Because that one other person is excited, and that's.
Can I actually give a little shout out? Two things actually. First of all, to the Discord page. The link for that is now in the description of the episode. If you want to go to Discord and join the conversation, you're welcome to.
Discord.
There's about 10-15 of us there at the moment. We seem there's messages go back and forth all the time now. It's really cool. It's a nice little way to keep in touch. And everyone's talking to each other, which is good because it means I don't feel completely compelled to respond to everything in there, which is nice. I am quite active in there, but yeah, it's because it's been hard for me to keep up with the comments, so it's nice. But also, thanks to everyone who replied when we asked the other week for people to tell us where they were, Chris.
Oh yeah, I remember.
That episode finally aired a couple of days back, and we got some great responses. Do you want to hear some how far spread?
I would love to. I would absolutely love to.
We've got listeners
Wait. Do you have a lot more to say on the episode? Because I don't particularly, so I'm good with this. But if you,
we could do this, and then we can do some final thoughts if we on the episode. Okay. Just have a little break and then get back to it, if that's okay.
Oh no, mate! I'd love to hear where people are from.
Yeah, so we've got within the States. We've got people on the coast closest to ourselves, on the East Coast in Brooklyn, and then it crosses the country. We've got people, we're a little bit above that in Massachusetts. Then we've got Detroit, Salt Lake City in Utah, Austin, Texas, and then right on the other coast, California. We got people there. Then when we go worldwide, we got people in Australia, Latvia, Brazil, Austria, Guatemala.
Wow, that's awesome.
I was very surprised to hear we had a listener in Guatemala. So yeah, I just want to thank like everyone who commented and gave us like where they were at. I mean, it was only 1, 2, 3. 4,
I am so excited that we are, as far as I can tell,
15 people gave responses, and we had people all over the place.
We are possibly going to be caught up enough. Yeah, we will. By my maths, I'm going to be caught up when we put up the episode where we debate Hanson and Alien Ant Farm for like 20 minutes. So I can't wait to see responses to that. And I love the notion. I like the notion we talked about last week about me being able to comment. I like the notion of doing that as a surprise to people, and just like being like, if anyone is like, oh yeah, I really like Hanson, just being like, oh, that's brilliant to hear you like Hanson, Chris, and then just being like, whoa, what?
Yeah, it's good actually. That's true. That's
so I might
exciting.
do that.
So yeah, I just wanted to thank...
And then for them to just be like, "Why are you here? Like, you're gonna spoil it for yourself." with me being like, "Nope, we've finished recording them."
Well, do you want to hear something even weirder? Actually, I discovered. So the Fretzel, who incidentally, by the way, is a YouTuber in his own right, does ukulele videos. I discovered today, and they're incredible. So actually, no, it's mostly piano stuff. There's a couple of ukulele ones though, where I mean, I will never play ukulele as well as Fretzel does. But Fretzel lives in Brooklyn, and I said, "Oh, Brooklyn's really cool. I really enjoyed it there." And we had that thing about our Jaeger bombs, a thing in the States. I was like, actually, I might have had a Jaeger bomb in the States when I went to this bar. Oh God, what was it called? I literally knew it like 2 hours ago because I was messaging about it. But it turns out we both went to the same bar. Like, he lives a few blocks away from the bar awesome. I went to when I was in Brooklyn.
That's cool.
That broke my brain, Chris. Can't...
That's awesome.
What are the odds?
I think we will miss, actually. I think I got that wrong. I think we're not going to be caught up when the Hanson episodes airs, are we?
I'd imagine so, because it's just the Sadie one, isn't it?
But what have we got? What's just aired? So Kevin Party's just gone up, hasn't it? So next will be Lars of the Stars.
Yeah, then Jungle Moon, and then Your Mother and Mine, and then The Big Show. So that's not till the 27th of July.
Oh,
we are up to date
your
by the 27th of July in terms of
for some reason in my head, Your Mother and Mine came after The Big Show. Oh, okay, cool, fine.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll be just. That'll be one of the first ones you'll be able to comment on.
That's amazing. I love that. I love that. Like anyone that I hope I remember to do it. Anyone that like turns out also liked Hanson will get rewarded by me being like, "What's up?" Like, how egotistical is that? I don't see me commenting you back as a reward. Like, but you know what I mean. Oh, I hate the phrasing of that. Makes me sound like a right dick. But yeah.
Look at the reward of the surprise of you commenting.
Yeah, I think it's more the surprise and the shock than anything else.
Yeah.
Anyway. What are your other closing thoughts on this episode?
Yeah, so it's sort of tied up because it's weird actually, because I thought we'd have a lot more to say about this one, but it's such a straightforward sort of character piece with like a lot less to analyze than the previous episode because there aren't as many dimensions to it. Because I think the last episode had 3 or 4 angles you could look at and explore conversationally, but this one only had one very clear sort of thought.
Okay. Well, if you haven't got much, then I'll ask a question before the trip. How much do you want to or feel we need to return to? Because we kind of put a pin in Amethyst's thoughts on it and Stephen's thoughts on it. Now, both of those, their thoughts and their feelings about this would be fascinating things to explore. But it's hard to think of a way to explore certainly amethysts without going back on this, unless it was an amethyst and a pearl episode or an amethyst and a garnet episode. So how much do you think we will explore those feelings in more depth in the future, and how much do you want us to?
I think Amethyst might get her own Storm in the Room episode. Because, we had an episode with just Stephen on his own after he sort of became more convinced his mother was a war criminal, and had sort of more evidence that she'd shattered Pink Diamond before, obviously, the recent reveals. And yeah, that was that great episode, Storm in the Room, where he goes into Rose's room and confronts the fictional version of her. I say fictional, the sort of like not real version of her that his mind created in that room. I think that there is definitely using a similar sort of crux, using some sort of, gem related, hoo-ha of some sort, to put Amethyst in a situation where she is forced to, while alone, confront her feelings on Rose.
Yeah, that sounds good.
And it does. And the great thing is, as proven by storming the room, you don't have to do it immediately because they didn't do it then. He didn't confront his feelings about Rose during all the chaos of the arc that led to that crisis of conscience. It was when that all settled down that he then had that episode. So,
yeah.
I think you do the same thing here with Amethyst. Steven, on the other hand, I feel like his stuff's going to come out in front of everyone. But I think it's when because they've still not really tackled how he feels about it, to be honest with you, because I think he's matured so much. Like he's so clever now, and he's just like, he knew to say to Amethyst, like, I'm fine, like in that moment, because she needed to hear that, as he gave that to her as much as she gave him that the checking in that he was okay, because obviously he's not okay. There's no way to be okay with this information. So I think it's really cool. I think it's awesome, and I think that there's a lot of room to do a solo sort of, or close to solo episode for Amethyst, where she's forced to confront her feelings about Rose in a less direct way, a la Storm in the Room. And with Steven, I think when all this settles down, he's going to have his moment as well. And I think that's going to come out in an episode that involves everyone. I think everyone's going to be a part of that when that happens, because I think the show has proven time and time again that Steven draws strength from his friends, and if he gets into some sort of funk about this, when all is said and done, I think that it's going to be the whole Crystal Gem gang is going to be what pulls him out of that, and that's where he's going to draw his strength from, I think. I think that's all due. I feel. But I didn't think, and was pretty confident that wouldn't happen within the bomb.
Do you think we're gonna? Because correct me if I'm wrong. We haven't seen in flashback form Amethyst come out, haven't we? We've heard about it, but we haven't seen it. We haven't seen her come out as a ball of fury. How cool would it be to team up her dealing with it with that flashback? So we see how we see just what Rose did when she was first out and was this sort of, we've had it described as like she was, so angry and stuff, and it took her time to warm to everyone. How amazing to see Rose calm her down and make her see her place and do a story. Then you combine
definitely.
that with Amethyst's feelings towards her now,
because Amethyst will have come out with Rose having, will have come out. Amethyst will have come out expecting to join Pink Diamond, and while that sort of did happen, in a roundabout way, she didn't get to do that. Think... She came out with an expectation about what her role was and what she would be doing with her life, and it was not that when she came out, and it was Rose's fault. So it's not surprising that she would have come out sort of angry, and it would have been interesting. I agree with you. I think it would be really fascinating to see Rose coax her round and sort of examine that idea of like, how did Amethyst go from being like, what was the conversation, what was the scenario in which Amethyst sort of became a crystal gem. That is a fascinating story. How that relates to where she is today, and like how it forces her to explore her current feelings on that Rose situation, I'm less sure about. But that doesn't mean it wouldn't be good or couldn't be done and couldn't be done well.
Yeah,
and I'm convinced that's probably one of the best ways to do it.
And I definitely want to see it, and I think there's got to be a reason because we've kind of had Pearl, admittedly only very recently, kind of with the last episode, but we've seen a lot of Pearl's beginnings now. We've seen Amethyst, we've seen Stevens in a way, because we've seen bits of Greg and Rose's stories that show that, and we've see Greg's past, and I think Amethyst beginning is something we've yet to see, and I can't imagine a world where we don't see it. So if they've not shown us it yet, that would imply at least that it's tied into something from the future.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that's probably the way they would do it. It's how now you've said it, it just seems like such a straightforward and obvious answer. But it's at the same time though, I wonder what the circumstances are for that story to be retold. Like I keep thinking it through and going like, do you do it like this episode where she has a breakdown and then someone retells the story from their perspective, or we get it from her perspective and someone else's perspective, and they've got slightly conflicting versions of the story? Maybe that's the interesting way to do it.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
What's the Steven Universe becomes the affair?
Yeah.
for an episode.
Yeah.
Give me it, Dan. Lay it on me. Give me the triv.
Yeah.
I would love the triv.
I know you love the triv. Okay. Oh, dude, there's basically no triv. That's really unfortunate. Amethyst, it literally says TBA under trivia. Wow.
Oh, of course. These episodes are so recent. There's probably not much, people might not have done the work for the triv yet. That's insane.
Yeah. Oh, man, that's crazy. I mean, no, there's nothing. 1 second. No, that one's related to a future episode. Amethyst pointing to the sky and giving her speech to Steven about not falling apart on him is a reference to the anime series Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann, where the characters pointed to the sky while giving inspirational. That's really badly phrased. Where the characters pointed to the sky while giving inspirational speeches. This has been repeated in other series as well.
Cool. That's good.
That's it.
Good trip. Oh man, do you think the first episode live that we do, how amazing would it be? And I'm, not putting this out there in the hope that someone does it, but after we've caught up, how amazing would it be to see for us to be a trib? So someone adds, this episode was the first episode that the podcast Steven University did live. You know what I mean? It's the premise of the podcast is to catch up on the show. This is the first episode of which they'd caught up.
Yeah, sure. Someone throw it in there. It's editable by anyone. You can do that. That's easy.
I know.
Someone throw an MVS reference that would be sad, somewhere in a triv, please. The Big Show trivia. This is this episode sparked several discussions about Hanson and Alien Ant Farm amongst hosts of certain podcasts.
No, I don't think that's going to be of interest, but you never know. The other one might be.
Yeah. Anyway.
But yeah. Okay. Well, that's still a nice piece of triv. That's cool.
Yeah. I feel it's weird because I feel like we should have had more to say about this one, but maybe we're tired, or maybe there just isn't as much depth to it as I thought.
No, I think no. There is the depth, but the depth is essentially it's an incredibly entertaining episode. But the depth is what it means for the Amethyst character, and I think how effective that is, why it's so effective, what it might mean for the future. That's kind of all we have talked about. So.
And let's be honest, though, Chris, the real story here is what was Onion doing in that bush.
No, that's not the real story. The real story is, why is Ruby a cowboy? Or cowgirl, sorry.
Oh, right, yeah, okay. Yeah, it's true.
Because she says, why would she even be a cowgirl? I want to know what that means for the next episode, desperately.
It's true.
That's the real story.
One last quick thing, Chris, then, since we're wrapping up, before we do the goodbyes. Mm-hmm. You've already seen it, but listeners have yet to see the artwork of Anna Terres, who we might have talked about this on the podcast before. I think we have, who was doing a brilliant piece of Rose art based on Chris's ultimate theory, which is Rose is a bit dodge. And
proved out to be accurate. Can I just say again?
What's that, sorry?
Proved to be accurate. Can I just say again?
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%. Well, Anna. Oh no, it's Anne. Sorry, I've been misreading it. I need to put my glasses on before I do this sort of thing. Anne. Sorry, Anne Terra's ANNE has done this incredible piece of art that's apparently going on a T-shirt for herself. I suppose.
Is amazing.
And it says Chris's best theory ever. Rose is a bit dodge, and it's this incredible redesign of Rose that my girlfriend took one look at and was like, I like that better than the actual design of Rose. It's really good. It is really brilliant. And Anne has said that she now feels that she needs to put the sequel to your Rose is a bit dodge theory on the back, which is a picture of Pearl that says, and Pearl knows about it, or Pearl knows something about it, which is another phrase you've uttered. Pearl knows some shit. Awesome. That was your second theory. That was it. I've got the phrasing exactly here. So you said Rose is a bit dodge, and Pearl knows some shit. That was your theory.
Again, she's spot on the money. Bang on the money.
In both fronts, absolutely, 100%.
Have you got permission to show the artwork on the YouTube video?
I do. So you're looking at that as we talk now. So you can, if you're listening to this through iTunes or one of the other many places you can find this podcast, like Google Play or whatever, please just pop to the YouTube channel if you want to see the artwork. YouTube.com/NothingButStaticUK, or I believe it is on Anne's Blogspot with other great artwork that she's done. So
check that out.
It's Anne Terra's, spelled ANNE. Oh, it's got another. Oh, Anne E Terra's in this case. There's an extra E there. Is that right? Just double check that link works. Yes, it does. Okay, so it's ANNEETERRES.blogspot.com. Link in the description if you want to check it out.
Yeah,
she did
definitely.
Did politely ask that I warn people that there is, in some of the artwork further, like down on the page, there is a bit of nudity, but I've had a look through it. It's all really tastefully done. There's nothing it's not hentai, so just don't look at it at work. Is basically, I think, the
NSFW guys. NSFW. I've not been on her blog for spoiler reasons, but as soon as we've caught up, I will definitely check it out. But based on the drawing Dan has sent me of Rose is a bit dodge, I've no doubt that the artwork on there is brilliant. So definitely check out her work. Yeah,
there's a really cool Garnet one on, I think, the second page. Fan art, Steven Universe Garnet, and it's just a really cool Garnet image. Posted earlier this year, I guess, May this year. So yeah, have a look through the blog. It's good.
Cool.
It's good. It's really good. So
check that out. Thank you again. Should we? We should say, we've talked about the future and Honey, We Shrunk Steven University, which is coming soon. Due to Dan being in Japan and the many bombs and many double episodes we've had over the last few weeks. Next week, to pre-warn you now, we will be taking a break. So there will be no episodes next week, but we'll be back with a vengeance the week after. With some some hiatus content. Yes, yeah, we don't know quite where. We probably won't be Honey, We Shrunk Steven University away because we said we'd do that as another bomb. So we have to build that up because Chris shot us in the foot by saying we'd do that as a bomb. So nothing next week, but don't worry about next week. You got 3 more episodes over the next 3 days. Unless they drop 2 episodes between now and then, in which case we'll have to do those as soon as I'm back from Japan and get them up. But that still wouldn't be the week after this, would it? Yeah, would. Oh, okay. I get back from Japan mid this week, so if new episodes have aired, we'd record the end of the week this bomb is going up, and then have them up for the week after. So right, I'm with you. The Tuesday and Friday we do it. We do it. The way we do it the way we've done every other episode. So I'm with you. Unless that happens, a break the week after, but only 1 week break, just because of the complications of having to catch up with Nothing But Static. We've discussed with our sort of hiatus content as well, just doing 1 a week for a bit, just to give us a bit of a rest. Yeah, I think that we've already announced. Yeah. So that's the current plan. It may shift if we have loads and loads of content to put out and it starts piling up. We might go back to 2 a week, but at least to start with, to give us a bit of a rest, because this has been.
it's been an incredible like year and a half for us, like getting through this.
Yeah, and to get like, and I didn't really realize like, and we've thanked them before, but a big thank you again to our partners, because they, we just started doing this, and they didn't ask for this, but like it's funny, we were talking about like seeing friends or something the other day, and I just said to Jess, I was like, yeah, I mean, and I think other people view the week as a 7-day week, but we don't, because it tends to be 2 or 3 nights or 2 or 3 days of which there is me doing a recording of some kind. And I went, but not that that's ever affected things, or at least that you've ever said. And Jess was just like, no, I would say if it was an issue. And then she went, when you had all 3 on the go, and there were bombs of Steven Universe, and you were but juggling bomb episodes of that and 2 other podcasts, maybe things got a bit crazy. So I think, as Dan said, it's been, especially with bombs, it's been an intense year and a half of podcasting, and a big thank you to you guys for listening, and our respective partners for putting up with that as well.
I mean, it's nuts, because I can't even calculate the number of listens we've had, because the data I get from Libsyn, our podcast host, is incomplete, and it's hard to get like full numbers for the as a playlist, as a series often on YouTube. But we've had, like we on Libsyn alone, it's listing like 40,000 listens. Which is
it's awesome. It's
which
amazing.
that doesn't include any YouTube hits. Like this has been like surprisingly popular, and we're really grateful for anyone who's given us the time of day, and a big shout out to recently one of our listeners went back and listened to everything and like caught up again, which is nuts, in like 2 weeks, which is just it's a lot of us to listen to. Super impressed. Like, you guys have all been incredible.
Very impressive.
And
I wouldn't recommend it for the main podcast. Go back 5 or 10 maybe. I wouldn't go back to the very beginning. Audio quality's not great, but
yeah, for the main Nothing But Static one, yeah, definitely. I think when we get back and we've got a bit more free time, I think we're going to refocus our efforts on the Patreon and making that worth doing for you guys. I think it's really important we do that. Every time I see money from that, I'm like, I feel really guilty. Was the last time we posted content on that? It's, it's helping. It's paying the bills. Like last month, it was amazing. Like almost the exact amount came into the Patreon to cover like the bills, like the outgoing.
At least half of the bills.
And I've set up a lot of the bills from my PayPal, and the Patreon goes into my PayPal. So it was literally just zip, and it was just. That's incredible. Like, we're nearly at a point where
I think that's like
itself.
half of them are covered by that. So we're so close to being totally covered by that, which is awesome. It's very pleasing.
Really, yeah. I mean, you guys have no idea how much that helps. To not be at a loss doing this is enough. Like, yeah. Thanks again. Keep spreading the word. Keep iTunes reviews. God, I've never done this, but we really should. iTunes and Google Play reviews and ratings mean stuff to so everyone who's listening to this, whether you listen to this on YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, if you have an iTunes account, just pop over there, drop us a quick review. It can say 2 words. It can just say it's good, and hit send. It doesn't matter. They just track how many feedback reviews you get. Subscribe if you haven't already on the YouTube channel, because if we hit 1,000, we can start making money off the YouTube videos again. So if you listen to this on iTunes and you already have reviewed us on iTunes and all that stuff, and you want to help us out, you can do the opposite. So the YouTube people go over to iTunes and subscribe, whatever you need to do, review on there. Vice versa. iTunes and Google Play people, hop over to YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Again, if we hit 1,000, we can start monetizing again on YouTube, which would be helpful. Because if any of these videos finally hits it on YouTube algorithms and we start going, not viral as such, but if we start getting a lot more interest, because someone said this the other day, like, I think you're on the cusp of hitting like a YouTube algorithm thing where they start pushing your content a bit more. And if that's true, and one of our videos suddenly gets loads of hits, right now we're seeing no money for that. And it'll only benefit us in the sense of that it might get us a few more subscribers to get to that point we can earn money. So yeah, please subscribe, because as soon as we hit 1,000, we can remonetize, and that'll be a big deal.
Yeah. So thank you very much for your support, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah. For another action-packed episode. No, I'm not going to leave it there. That would be mean. I've been Ned Dillon.
I've been Chris Billigan.
And we'll speak to you tomorrow as we discuss the question.